welcome back to The Pulse. I'm Araba Kumson. As I indicated earlier, I have a special guest in the studio. He is in the person of National Organizer of the Opposition NDC, Kofi Adams. Ms. Adams, welcome to The Pulse.
Thank you, Araba.
So let's talk about what everybody's talking about today. 1 year on since December 7, 2016. It was a crucial day, make or break for both parties, actually. It was filled with tension. But tell me, what was going through your mind at the time that people were casting their ballots and the results were almost to be declared?
Thank you and good afternoon to your viewers. What was going through my mind was that by the end of the voting, the good people of this country should vote the NDC to continue the great job it has begun to its completion. That was what I was expecting, and we worked for that. But when the voting ended, that did not happen, and whatever it is, we are all living witnesses to it to date.
Were you confident that President John Dramani Mahama was actually going to clinch victory, because there were indications that it was pointing another way?
I was quite confident that we were going to win, despite the challenges. I knew there were challenges.
What sort of challenges?
Of course, we've encountered an energy crisis over a period which we have resolved, though, but then still the news about it was ongoing. You were dealing with an opponent that was prepared to present everything as bad, everything government was doing as bad. Government development initiative was portrayed as being bad. Every infrastructure development that government was doing was told the people that is being inflated. Today, after they have gotten victory out of all those falsehoods, they are now telling us that they had no evidence, and that it is now they are trying to see if they can get evidence. The president himself said it. The senior minister, Honorable Osafo Mafo, have said so. So it meant that in 2016 and before, every information they put out there against the NDC, they had no evidence.
I see. So would you say that that rhetoric, I mean, you may call it propaganda, didn't work in the favor of the MPP?
Of course it did. It did. The promise of all the things. I don't know whether it was your station that interviewed the PRO of the Abosoka, the spare parts dealers, who said he quoted the time they gave President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, then candidate man. He said 1:15 p.m. because he had promised that he was going to resolve the myriad of challenges that confronted them as a people. Little did they know that he was coming to make their situation worse, and that today when their leader is talking, they are painting him as being political, that who is more MPP than their leader. It tells you the situation we find out, that their messaging, their comments, how they portray themselves, gave them the votes. But in all that, they were trying to package lies, or maybe people will say that lies will be true, but it was all falsehood. They gave wrong hope.
They gave the wrong hope.
Sure.
They would disagree with you, because they had argued that they were providing hope to, the myriad, the thousands of Ghanaians out there, because we were living in a situation of hopelessness. That worked for them. That was a strategy that worked for them. Looking back, do you think that you could have fought it off better?
We fought the fight the best that we could at that time. Because how were you going to explain the issues of the energy crisis, or even the labeling of acts of corruption? Yes, you do it, some people will believe, others will not. You extend development project to community. You, like say, water. Community need water. You go and do the water. The MPP agents will go there and go and tell the community that, look, the money spent on doing just this one water system for you could have done 2 or 3, so that it will cover a lot more areas and you don't have to converge at one point. Meanwhile, they knew they were packaging falsehood. Even when you go back and tell the people the truth with all the contractual evidence, it's difficult for them to believe you that what you are telling them is the truth, even though you have evidence. Today, having been in power, they are doing the same thing that costs even more. The vice president was saying fishermen are suffering. Today, not only are fishermen suffering, their premix is being diverted. It's being reported by some stations. I don't know whether you have also reported it, that 200 trucks loaded with premix have been diverted.
Right.
And that is close to about 22 million Ghana cedi plus. Can you imagine what that will do? That not only are fishermen suffering, as the vice president put it, their little premix that they use for their business is being diverted and money is put in the pockets of people who are supposed to serve them. You think that today, his vice president can go and stand before these fishermen and tell them that your situation in 2016 was worse than it is today? No, they know today they are suffering more. Their situation has been made worse. Traders.
Okay, you talked about the MPP packaging falsehood, and apparently that falsehood sold off. I mean, they were able to garner the votes that they needed to win the election.
Sure, Araba.
So, I mean, in the wake of all of this, do you think you could have fought a better fight? There are many who said that you didn't have a message and that all you were doing was countering the MPP's message.
We put out our message there. It's like saying that the temporal defeat that Christ, people thought that he suffered, was a defeat forever. Satan can win on some occasions, but will not win forever. Sometimes lies can give you victory, as it has done now. But the lies cannot sustain you. And that is what is confronting this government, that in everything they are doing, they are being exposed. Lies have given them the power, but that cannot govern for you. Propaganda cannot govern for you. The economy will expose you. The traders will expose you. They will tell you the truth, that even the NDC that built the markets for us was not charging us the levies and the tolls that you are charging us today.
You're saying that even the NDC is engaging in propaganda right now. It's not working for them. They accused you of a similar thing during the campaign period.
At least.
Is that a strategy that is deployed by
this
both
time
parties?
This time round, we are not campaigning. I don't know which area you live, whether you have been able to buy ECG credit in the last few days.
I'm not suffering from
You
that.
are not part of it. Okay, so thank God that you are lucky. But there is a section of Ghanaians which you know that for a number of days have not been able to buy.
7 days, in fact.
Have not been able to. I'm not aware that any such thing had ever happened.
But the ECG says they're working on it, and that is a network problem.
But they are
How can that be
they are working,
blamed on the government?
Why? Why is ECG not part of government machinery?
But the government doesn't directly run the ECG.
Who appointed the people who are running ECG?
So
am I the one who appointed? Were you the one who appointed?
Are you saying that
is it not the
should be
president who
directly
appointed?
blamed for
Is it not the president who appointed the people who are in charge of ECG?
Are you saying that the president should be directly blamed for what's happening at the ECG?
You want to take the blame? You should be blamed.
I'm asking you.
No, I'm asking you whether you think that you should be blamed.
I'm the one doing the questioning. So
I agree that you are doing the question, but it's the way of answering you whether you think that you should be blamed.
I don't have an answer to that. I'm asking you whether you think the government, led by the president and Akufo-Addo, should be blamed for the current crisis we're seeing at the ECG.
So I should go and take the blame. You pay your taxes to me. You pay your taxes to me. You don't pay your taxes to me.
So
who is supposed to help fix the problem?
Who should be blamed?
Of course, the government. And who is heading the government? Who appointed the people who are there? Who appointed the MD? Who put the board in place? Who put the board in place? Who are supposed to make sure that they run ECG effectively so that people don't suffer, businesses don't collapse? Not like they don't even have their money. They are willing to sacrifice. You have increased the cost of electricity. They are okay with that. Even though you promised them that you were going to reduce it, you have increased it. They are not even worried about that yet. They have their money to go and buy your increased cost of electricity supply, but it's not even available. So their industry, those who depend on power in all those areas, are suffering.
Okay, so since you've raised the issue of the ECG problem, now what we do know is that the ECG has given assurances that it is working to fix the problem. The PURC has said that it will sanction them if it has not fixed the problem by close of day tomorrow. What do you expect from government in the midst of all of this?
If PURC sanction them, what will be the sanction? They will fine them. If they pay the money, is it their money? It's our money, the taxpayers' money. That's why they are coming to use to pay.
So what are you saying?
So it's cost 90. government and the energy minister or whoever is there who has the supervisory role over such issues, it must be seen to be working or be fired.
What do you expect them to do specifically?
I don't expect such problems to be happening.
You're blaming government directly.
I'm saying that I don't expect such problems to be happening in this modern time for an area to go for more than 7 days without not being able to buy power. 7 days.
So what is the expectation?
Or 2 is sometimes acceptable. But 7 days, 1 week. Can you imagine if somebody is running a cold store service there?
In fact, we've spoken to some people who run cold stores who say
they've lost so much.
Yeah, huge amounts of money. But I am saying, I'm asking you, you're blaming government directly. What do you expect them to do?
Who's supposed to fix the problem? Am I the one supposed to go and fix the problem? No, I'm not the one. I have not been appointed to fix those problems.
Very well. Let's go back to the issue for which you're here. We're reflecting on 1 year since December 7, 2016, that crucial election. Now, we know that the former president conceded before even the electoral commissioner chairperson came out to, declare Nana Akufo-Addo president. There are suggestions that at the time there was some pressure, being brought to bear on Mrs. Charlotte Osei not to declare the results so quickly, even though a lot of people knew the direction it was going, and the MPP itself had declared its own results. How do you respond to that?
First and foremost, it's wrong for any political party to declare its own results. I'm equally also not aware of any pressure being brought to bear on the EC chair not to declare results, because the EC announced the results as and when they receive it. When they indicated that their system was in a way compromised and they were not getting the results again, they came and announced it, and that they would have to do some auditing of their system to make sure that what they are getting is correct, what they are getting is genuine, that is what is emanating from their centers that they have created. I don't think that this is suggestion of any pressure on anybody. It's part of negative news that sometimes people put during such times to make their case. Nobody, I'm not aware as campaign coordinator for the 2016 campaign for the then ruling party, that any pressure was brought to bear on anybody on EC, even if we had any such chance to do so on any one of them, not to declare results if they ever had their results to do so.
And there were reports also, unconfirmed though, that there were members of the NDC, leading members, national executives actually, who tried to prevent former President John Dramani Mahama from conceding defeat. How true is that?
Not that they tried to prevent former President Mahama from conceding defeat, but there were clear indications of violations of our electoral process and even the results as was put together based on discussions that we've had at IPAC. And we thought that there was opportunity to look into many of such results again, where we had overvotings and then the rest, that we thought we needed to look into it. That was the view of a number of us who were at the headquarters coalition point, but the leadership thought otherwise. There was, I'm not aware that there was any pressure that don't do it or go and do it. It was a collective decision of leadership who made there that looking at the situation for the sake of this country, and that it is not because of a desire to be president that will plunge a country into some chaotic situation. So why? It's 4 years. Let's concede. The truth will come out later. Ghanaians will have the opportunity to judge. And if after that, God leaves and God gives us another day, the same Ghanaians will have the opportunity to judge. And I believe that we are judges today. You go to many of the places, the market women, ordinary people who can't even do anything are telling us that their situation today have been made worse than it was. Sometimes even 4 or 5 times worse than it was.
Let's talk about your campaign for the 2016 election. Like I indicated earlier, there were those who felt that the NDC didn't really have a campaign message, and that they were riding on what the MPP at the time was talking about, to the extent that the MPP didn't want to expose or come out with its manifesto because they felt that the NDC might steal their ideas. What we do know is that the NDC campaigned on the message of infrastructure, But obviously that didn't work for you, did it?
I don't think that we campaigned on the
Mainly
message.
on the message of
You may say
infrastructure.
that was a trump card.
Building schools,
That was a
building
trump card.
roads,
That was a trump card.
building hospitals, including the new rich Accra, Greater Accra
I agree
hospital.
with you that it was a trump card for the government, that a lot of infrastructure, and you need infrastructure to better a lot of people. We love to sometimes just go out of our country to have a feel of some other environment because they have taken their time to build their infrastructure. You are on roads, you enjoy the roads that you are riding on. Where if it is rail line system that you are using, if it is health services, if it is education, it is out of building a very unique infrastructure system that you will have to enjoy such life. So in setting out to develop a country, you have to make sure that your infrastructure is also very well developed. So government thought that let's invest in that area. We needed to communicate, and there was an attack on it. That, oh, if they are talking about jobs and bread and butter issues, and then you say infrastructure, forgetting that.
But to be fair, though, the president at the time, John Dramani Mahama, when he was in opposition, had made a comment to that effect, that you cannot eat roads and schools and hospitals.
I'm not talking about eating. I'm not talking about eating roads or doing all that. What I'm saying is that in road construction, in construction of hospitals, in construction of schools, it is Ghanaians who work there. There are people who go to school and learn how to build. If you don't build infrastructure, how are they going to get work to do? Are you expecting someone who went to, say, a technical school or an HND holder who learned building and construction to leave that field and come and be a newscaster? The person will necessarily need, are you expecting somebody who trained at KNUST who is an architect? So
that is not in doubt.
No, so I'm telling you that. No,
but I'm telling you that based on what you have said earlier, it came to bite him back. I'm
not talking about biting back. They were in two different contexts. He was talking about what they claim that they have done monumental. And he said that if it is about comparing those records, then the NDC that was defeated in 2000 had done better in terms of infrastructure as compared to the MPP that had been in power also 8 years after defeating the
Is that
NDC.
the interpretation you're giving us now?
That's the interpretation. That's the interpretation. That's the interpretation. But for political convenience, it was shifted as if we said that, oh, it wasn't an important issue, infrastructure wasn't an important issue. But putting that aside, you see, any time after a defeat, you will get people being able to diagnose this program that we are doing. You may think that you are asking your question the best of ways. Finish and get somebody who may not even know how to ask questions. They will critique you that you should have asked him this question. You should have forced him to say it this way.
I can imagine.
That's how it is.
We get that all the time.
So after the event, when the results have come, you will get all kinds of analysis that will be done because the program is over, the results are there to be seen, and so it's easy for you. Look, we have been talking about many things that we were doing, things that we are going to do on many platforms that His Excellency addressed, that many of us addressed. It wasn't just only infrastructure. We weren't only responding to the MPP. So
how come it did not resonate with the people on the ground?
Because I must say also that the vehicle of sending that also maybe decided that we were going to marry with our opponents and do in government. It was quite clear that there was some kind of marriage of convenience some way, somehow. So it affected our news getting there. And it's understandable.
No, explain that for those who might not know exactly what you're talking about. I'm saying that
being in power, you might be interested in reporting on many things, sometimes including even things that were mere rumors.
So are you saying that the media did not help your cause?
Not just that they did not help cause, but maybe to some extent, they were also reporting almost everything that was being churned out from our opponents without doing some further checks on it.
But there are those who would argue that the government did not open itself up to the media.
I think that
there are many times
I think that this is one president who had opened himself up for a lot of even questioning. You remember, we've not had a situation where presidents have agreed either to open themselves up to various platforms leading to an election. But for 2016 campaign, President Mahama encountered a lot of media engagement. So it can be the case that he truly didn't. We didn't allow media. There was a number of media interactions.
When I say that it didn't open up, the government didn't open themselves up to the media, what I'm trying to explain is that there are many times the media would like to seek clarification on certain issues, but most of the ministers are unable to speak to the issue.
Possibly, it depends on, because if you meet an energy minister, you are going to be asking an energy minister about issues of fisheries. He will not be able to give you the information. See, sometimes people think that because you are
reluctant to speak.
People think that because you are a minister, so everything you must speak about it. Sometimes you may even be a minister in your sector ministry. You may not have had a briefing on that matter. Maybe the first media person engaging you may be the one that is even drawing your attention to it. So you need to go and get proper information before you speak to the person. Okay. But for some of you, you are so insistent that the person must speak to you because he's a minister. I believe that I'm inviting you to show the same interest that was shown during the NDC time on many issues, myriad of them that are happening. Let's report. Let's follow up and see what is being done
right now.
What is being done about the premix that has been diverted. We must follow that to the end.
We
must get answers because the fishermen and the fishers they are suffering. The fisher folks are suffering.
Okay, let's go back to that day again. Election day 2016. I mean, it was full of tension, and eventually the results were declared by the EC chair. What do you think, looking back, accounted for the NDC's defeat?
Well, a number of issues accounted for, and I really don't intend to go into what accounted
but
beyond.
You must go back to go forward.
Of course, we are doing that as a political party. But the key ones, of course, is what I have told you earlier, which I will seem to be repeating again, that a lot of lies and falsehood was packaged. Trojan horses were offered to people that, oh, we'll do this, oh, we'll do that, oh, we are going to do this, everybody is going to get job to do, oh, electricity, we are going to reduce it. We were told that the cost of electricity was higher than our rent. Today, has electricity cost been reduced? No. There were people who voted because they were being told that the cost of electricity was too high and that this government is insensitive. There were people who voted because they were being told, drivers, they were coming to your stations here to demonstrate. Didn't you meet them down there? Because they were told fuel was too expensive then. Today, it is more expensive, and they were pleading to President Nana that they begged him, you promised to reduce it, that President Mahama was wicked. If you won't reduce it, just keep it at the level President Mahama left it for us. He left it for you around 14 point something CD. Today, it is over 22 CD. How? Less than 1 year.
Okay.
So the falsehood, the packaging of the falsehood was key one. The other ones are internal. Some of them we are addressing, including the project of re-registration to make sure that everyone who truly wants to be a party member is given the chance and the opportunity to be a member. It's not denied. We don't exclude people in the processes of the so there are a number of issues also that are internal, which we are working on.
What is the status of that re-registration exercise?
It's going on well. Meetings of branches are ongoing. They are preparing themselves for us to dispatch the books that we've decided to code before they get to the field. Because if you don't code the books, a book that is supposed to go to the Araba police station can go to Kofi police station and will not be identified. So what we are trying to do now is to make sure that the book that is going to Araba police station is coded for Araba police station. That if it finds its way to Kofi police station, it will be known that this book is coming from here. So we are doing some of the additional things that originally we thought that we really didn't have to do, and we could leave it to be done on the field. So all that is being done. So once that is finished, we'll get the books to the field, and names will be captured in there, and we'll move on with it.
Okay, I do recall then candidate Nene Kufuor saying at the time that we need to lift our country out of the quagmire of poverty and get Ghana working again. He's won the election now. He's president. Do you think Ghana is working again?
Do you think? You say you ask the question. Do you really think Ghana is working?
You're answering the question.
It's true. I'm the one to answer the questions, but I'm just trying to ask you to help me whether you think that Araba, I've just listed a number of things. Here is a country. When President Mahama decided that we should fix the Alabi Bridge, he made alternative provision to make sure that people who will be going to some part of Eastern region and Volta region and the rest wouldn't suffer. Today, President Akufo-Addo decided that he's working on Yape and Bipe Bridge. No alternative has been done. That is Ghana working for him. Pre-mixed people, I have said earlier, I'll repeat again because it's part of Ghana working, that our money has been put together to
be
prepare.
fair, though, they have, transferred one more ferry to the area to ease the congestion.
And I'm telling you that President Mahama made provision for two.
Okay, and no provision was made in this case.
No provision was made.
Okay.
People have to suffer.
That's fair.
Some of you went there to cover it and reported the suffering people are going through before they did that.
Okay.
So we have to talk about it. The issue of premiums that I mentioned earlier, we all put our money together and said that, okay, this is an industry that needs some support. So let's, in a way, support it. It's well prepared. It's supposed to go to benefit them so that me and you, when we go home, our kinky and fish can get some to eat and have some protein. Some people decide to divert it, put the money in their pocket. That is Ghana working for them. It's not working for me and you. It's not working for the fishermen. It's working for some people. In many other situations, instances of people complaining that they want certain, like the ECG thing that we talked about. I don't think that those who are not holding money and not getting the chance to buy the power will tell you that Ghana is working for them. I don't think that the taxi drivers who are spending time demonstrating and going to court, they are going to court to make sure that court gives them the right that the police is intimidating them to be able to demonstrate because they are suffering. The spare parts dealers who are complaining and talking, I don't think that the Ghana is working for them. The traders in Kumasi and the rest who are demonstrating and speaking that not even a government of NDC that build markets for them will charge them the kind of tools that they are charging them when they are not making any ends meet, will not say that Ghana is working for them.
So in your opinion, Ghana is not working? Ghana, a year after election day 2016.
Can you tell me?
17,
okay, Araba, that's what I'm saying. You may be able to help me.
A lot of
yeah, I know that.
I'm the one doing the questioning, and I'm asking you, a year on, is there nothing that you can say, you can applaud the government
Do you think that the judiciary will be happy about the level of vigilantism that have been visited on them? Are you happy about the security situation where you are not safe, you don't know who will come and attack you in the work that you are doing?
Are you saying there's insecurity in the country?
Is there security? There's a lot of insecurity.
Such as?
Are you not seeing it? People invading people's homes and throwing them out, workplaces and throwing them up. Judges are being chased here and there, and so on and so forth. The president's own appointees are being chased away, and all kinds of things happening. And you think that
these didn't happen during, the NDC's.
Did you ever hear any judge being chased out of her seat? That she's sitting to give judgment, the judiciary coming under attack. Did you ever hear any police officer being beaten under the NDC? Did you ever hear that a national security liaison officer appointed by the president was chased out from office? Did you ever hear that? No, you will not.
Well, the NPP may argue that it's instituted a lot of interventions, such as, the paperless system across many of the country's state institutions. Isn't that something to be applauded?
Paperless didn't start with the NPP. That's also another, you see, this is a project that you don't do it just one day. It's a good program that must be done and done well. The engagement with other countries to make sure that they also even create a system here to be able to started way back before even the NPP came to power. So if you continue a project, it's good, but continue it in a way that will work well.
Are you saying it's not working well?
I don't think that it's working the way it's expected. They must move quickly to deal with a few of the challenges that have come out of that.
But these teething challenges are to be expected, are they not?
That's what I'm saying, but you solve them quickly. You don't allow them to also become another albatross or another problem. As they come, you work on them. So it's good that they have it, but it didn't start with them. They completed the project. So it's good to continue such a project.
Kofi, speaking of the 2016 elections, obviously there were some challenges, as you pointed out. The EC was tasked to ensure that it undertook some reforms so that we don't see a repeat of that in the next 4 years. Do you think that they've done a good job? Have they even started at all, to the best of your knowledge?
To the best of my knowledge, as a political party, we held just one meeting. I think no, we've done 2 meetings, and they took views from us. We are expecting that the committee would be put in place to start some work that will lead to the development of the CI that will govern our next elections.
But it's been a year already.
Yeah, it's been a year already, and we expect that very soon.
Isn't the process too
slow? I must say it's slow, but you know already what we are doing about the EC. The EC leadership itself is equally being challenged in many forms. So we have put them in such a difficult situation to be able to find real problems.
But who has put them in that situation?
Who hasn't put them in that? Who referred all those petitions that have no basis to the various processes?
So how soon are we likely to see some of these reforms being rolled out?
I think we are waiting on the Chief Justice to quickly possibly come out to clear some of those doubts, to allow them have the confidence to roll out the programs that they are. Because don't forget, the president is talking about creating regions, and so there will be some referendum. The local government elections would also even be happening very, very soon. So they need to prepare for all those ones to be done even before the 2020 general election. So there's no time on our side that we need to see, and the necessary reforms that we need now should find themselves in and well backed with the appropriate laws to make sure that the right things are done. I believe that the challenges that confronted us in 2016 should not repeat themselves in 2020, because a few that came up in 2012, of course, didn't happen in 2016 again. So we don't expect what happened in 2016 to repeat itself in 2020.
Okay, Kofi, very quickly, 1 minute. 7 December 2016, a year on, your thoughts?
My thought is that Ghana would have been better if the terms that voted against the NDC had voted for the NDC. Unfortunately, we will have a chance to correct that in the next 3 years. We are only 3 years away from correcting the mistakes we made in 2016. So let's continue praying, like the president himself said. Yes, Enyami. Because if we don't pray, this government and country needs serious prayers. If we don't pray, we will go into a ditch that it will be very difficult for the NDC to even be able to pull us out. But let's continue praying so that we can stay afloat. Then when we can get everybody out from the drowning river and then carry on with our lives.
That's vintage. Kofi Adams there. He's a national organizer of the opposition National Democratic Congress. Many thanks for your time. We're staying still on this issue. Majority Leader Oseiche Mensah Bonsu has also been speaking of events during the 2016 elections. Watch.
The nation was, I should say, a bit on the precipice. Thankfully, we had elections, and thankfully, the transfer of power eventually got very smooth. Even after the elections, the nation was tensed up because you had an electoral commission that was, announcing the results. They stopped midstream, and for whatever reasons, political parties then fill in, and indeed, radio stations come in and they are announcing unofficial results. We all knew where the pendulum was swinging. And yet, some other political party, the incumbent then came, took center stage, and assured the supporters that we are winning. Everybody should go and eat, we are winning. And we are in a comfortable lead. Wherever that was coming from, nobody knew. But that in itself was very much laden with anticipations that could not be good, could have not been good for the country. So we're all sitting on the knife edge. Thankfully, good reason and good counsel prevailed that compelled the electoral commission to declare the results. Why they were waiting, only God can tell. So today, we are out. The nation is enjoying relative peace. Yes, initially there were some problems with some people who had been silent for a very long time, suddenly finding their government in power and they wanting to reap immediately. That also generated some concerns. Government has been ushered in, and government has taken some steps to right some of the wrongs in the past. They are sowing the seeds to regenerate the economy. The signals are clear that we are on the right track, as informed by the GDP growth rates, by inflation coming down, by interest rates coming down, by lending rates coming down, by the accumulation of international reserves unprecedented in the history of this country. Just a year back, the reserves that had risen to about 4 billion. Within a space of 10 months, it's now climbed up to $7.1 billion. We are making giant strides in the various sectors. The agriculture, the planting for food and jobs, we are seeing the results of food prices climbing down significantly. But we are not out of the woods yet. We need to intensify our efforts because we not only need food security, but we need to also generate enough to feed the industries that are to come. And then also education, free senior high. It's been introduced. There are some challenges relating to inadequacy of rooms in the dormitories, inadequacy of classrooms, the smallness of the sizes of the various dining halls. We need to work on them. This government has started. And for this year, as you did see, GET Fund is rechanneling much resources to these areas to expand classrooms, to expand dormitories, to expand dining hall facilities. And I believe into the next year, they'll register some success. These were teething problems, and that's, as I'm saying, people are new to them. But tell me, is it not better to have students in secondary schools than to have them in the homes, doing nothing and turning into a social menace to society? So it's a useful beginning. As I said, the planting for food and jobs, the one dam, one village concept you saw in the budget that is intended to have over 250 of them next year. And that definitely is going to affect food production. It's going to affect productivity. Employment is a bane of this country. As you saw in the budget, we have plans to employ at least 500,000 Ghanaians, many of them belonging to the category of the youth in the country. So we intend to do what is right, and indeed we will do what is right. That is not in any way to say that we are out of the woods. We are not. It is not also to say that this government is sacrosanct. We are not. We need to be prodded left, right, so that together as one nation, we make greater strides into the future.
Yeah, very finally, it's good to thank God.
Let's still stay with politics because he's been a trusted and dedicated member of the NDC, serving in various capacities, including as a member of parliament, a minister. He also led the party's reorganization in the Greater Accra region after it lost power to the MPP in the year 2001. It's almost 2 decades since then, and Joshua Alabi is making an ambitious move to snatch the leadership mantle of the NDC for the next election. So why does he think the previous team led by President John Mahama should not lead the party's push for a return to power in the 2020 election? Here's a bite of a Pulse exclusive interview with the Russian-trained first Vice-Chancellor of the University of Professional Studies, Professor Joshua Alabi.
It seems that the party itself was very confident it was going to win. Why did it lose?
You see, we normally put it this way. We gave the MPP the chance to run the affairs of the state this time. They didn't win from their own.
The NDC lost.
Yes. There was a strong disconnect between government, the party executives, and the grassroots. And they really announced that seriously at the elections. They were talking about it. I think we're not listening, right?
Okay.
Yeah. I think that if we're able to work on this, and this is exactly what we are doing, we are going to bounce back 2020. We need to listen to our people. We need to involve them. The party must be in the center of governance. And I think this is what they expect
A year ago today, it was election day. What were you doing?
I went to Nungwa to vote, right? And because I voted for my party, I was very confident we shall win. Because I thought I was the only one.
You only have one vote?
Yes, I thought I was the only one.
Or did you go with your family?
I went with my wife, we voted. So at least NDC got 2 votes from this house, right? So if it is just this house, then we have won the elections.
But it wasn't, obviously.
But others too were voting.
And after you casted your vote, you came back home. What were you thinking?
I ran around to some of the police stations, and I still believe that we'll be able to scrape through until in the evening when we lost Krowo, Nungwa, my hometown. And any time any party wins Krowo, I tell myself that party has won the elections, because Krowo has never been opposition.
Okay.
Krowo moves with the government of the day. So when we lost Krowo, it was clear that we were going to lose Lady Kuku, right? And also Daddy Kutupon. You watch it. Any time we have election, check the results from Krowo. It will tell you who is winning the elections. So once we lost Krowo, I mean, I just told my wife, it's going to be hell for us. And true, it's run across. Krowo because we have everybody there. I must tell everybody. Right? We have the guns there, we have the cans there, we have the airways there, we have the Northers there, right? It's a mix.
It's a mix,
yeah.
A mixed bag of people from all parts of the country.
So my advice to you, the media, after any election, just check Krowo, then you go and sleep.
So in the evening, you realized that it wasn't going very well.
Yes, I realized it was not going very well after I got the results of Krowo. So I took Vellum and slept.
So you didn't hear the comfortable lead mantra?
I woke up and I heard comfortable lead, but the figures were not moving that way, right?
So at that point you were...
I felt that it was a way to calm down people, right? It was nicely done.
You think so?
Yeah, it was nicely done.
People thought that it would then incite people to be
a bit
violent.
No. They try to water down the pain, and then gradually it will come down. They will all go and sleep. Right.
So you had the comfortable lead mantra, but there was a press conference at dawn even, where the NDC, came out to say, look, Ovoswampofo was very furious, because at the time I think McMenu had said something about their figures and all of that.
I believe that they were doing that because of the rules of the game. It was clear that this is the work of the Electoral Commission. So why do we rush to do that, right? We have the Electoral Commission. We all agreed before, in fact, including civil society.
Okay.
So for one party to announce the results, this nearly caused serious problem 2004 elections when Jake announced that they have won. But our people wanted to move to the streets because how can the government announce that we have won? It's the Electoral Commission. Right. In every competition, we have the rules of the game.
Right.
And we all need to be disciplined to follow the rules of the game because we all have teaming supporters. You see,